Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it is the 25th day of November 2024. And welcome to our show today. First up, we have Vicky Davis with the Technocratic Communism. And after that, we will have our citizen journalist panel on with Christina, Melissa, and Chris. I'm hoping Vicky stays on because she's like a wealth of knowledge and can always comment or fill in the blanks here in the research. So I hope everybody had a great weekend. I did. I'm at a different location right now, and those who know me can take a guess at where I am. So we have a lot of stuff going on right now as usual. And I hate to say that, it sounds a little cliche, but actually it's really true. I decided that I was going to get into a little bit more hardcore research because we do need to question everything. And the things that I'm finding out on the Trump nominations are as disturbing as the endorsements that he had. So I want to make a statement here and let everybody know that I really do believe that he directs our attention so that we get in and research ourselves and don't sit there like a bunch of fish going, follow whatever he says. When he said that they were returning the government to we the people, we have to be worthy to have the government returned to us, which means we have to get in and dig and research for ourselves and take that as a very, very serious charge as an American, and not just follow everyone that pops up onto our feeds or exactly what somebody says. And that includes President Trump. The greatest thing that he could at this moment in time do for the nation is continue to make people think for themselves, because I've got a lot of observations that I want to get into, but right now I'm going to bring Vicky into this discussion. How you doing, Vicky?
Hi, fine, thanks.
Awesome. I love the fact that you and I are from the same camp of check things out for yourself. You cannot rely on the narrative. And I'm going to throw this up a minute because I got to tell you, I was extraordinarily annoyed by a few people last week. And I mean, really annoyed, because it was like, okay, it's time to wake up. How long have we been at this? And then I realized we're still in the wake up phase. There's a lot of people that are awake, but there's also a lot of people who are still waking up. And this goes back to, Vicky and I were talking about something offline this morning. And I said, I'm going to tell you what, a couple of weeks ago, I was honestly thinking about switching tracks here a little bit, doing something different for a little while, because I wanted to make sure that I was doing what God wants me to do, biggest bang for the buck and my time and that sort of thing. And honestly, it's become increasingly evident to me that he wants me to be sitting right here on BNN, probably going to expand it, which means things might change a little bit, and continue on the path of bringing actual research to the forefront. Because honestly, I'm seeing so many people out there that are just the new. It's the new programming now. We had the old programming, but now we've got the new programming, and people are following these people online. It's exactly like what happened when Q came out. Q came out, all of us were out there going, what is it? What are these questions? There were all questions. There were no answers. It was all questions. And you had to go and find things for yourself. Well, then all of a sudden, QAnon pops up, and QAnon ended up being those people that were in it to make money and draw a following and build a following for some sort of financial gain for themselves, or interpreting what people are seeing. And it wasn't pure journalism. And it went into, guess what? Phase 2 of programming. And I think that right now, what I'm seeing that's really disturbing is that we have so many cults out there, and I mean belief cults that go from all the political parties. I'm going to tell you right now, they're all involved in this to a certain degree, because they're not vetting people. They're putting people up and choosing who we have as a choice, instead of, let's not tell anybody who we endorse or who we like. Let's look at the facts behind them. Like, let's say Pam Bondi, for example. At first I blushed. I'm like, yeah, I think she looks like I put one post out and said, okay, for the benefit of the doubt, I'll say say she looks like a tough person. But then I started really doing some research, and it was a good lesson for me too. Stop, look, and listen before you jump on this crap, because I start looking into this and I'm like going, oh my gosh. And in fact, I know somebody who knows her personally because of her litigating against his company. And it was a hit job. It was absolutely a hit job. And also her stance on Second Amendment issues should be a little concerning. And until she comes out on this, I'm kind of wondering, why is it? What's really going on here? The candidates and the people that are putting forward, I think one of the first things we need to look at is their stance on the Constitution, especially Second Amendment issues right now, or free speech. What are they really doing? What have they done? And what are they doing? Not who is President Trump, appointing, and yay, let's all wave our flag. It's like, does he have another reason for appointing them? Is it that he's going to bring them in and fire them? I don't know the answer to that, but we can sure look at their track record. And the one that really stood out to me the last couple of days was Mike Rogers. Very concerning. But remember, everybody, we've got a whole bunch of people that have jumped on the political parties, the alleged grassroots, which has become another place for infiltration. I saw it as soon as I ran for governor. I'm like, oh my God, this is all been infiltrated and set up again. And we can say we're grassroots, but are we really? And we may have the great intentions, but we need to know who we're following before we can just be careful who you follow.
Yeah, that's true. And what you were talking about earlier about being disturbed by pics, I don't know anything about Pam Bondi, but I do know about Howard Lutnick. And when I found out last week that Howard Lutnick was the lead of Trump's transition team, I about had a heart attack because Howard Lutnick is the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, which is a brokerage and securities trading firm in New York City that was supposedly ground zero for where the plane allegedly hit to blow up the towers, the World Trade Center towers. Now, I don't know if that was true or not, because there was a lot of disinformation, misinformation going on, around, well, after 9/11, when people started researching it. I didn't really start researching it until about 2004. And the reason why I did is because of a presentation of a military strategist named Thomas P.M. Barnett. And he was at the Naval War College. And the reason why that connected to Cantor Fitzgerald was because the Naval War College was doing seminars with Cantor Fitzgerald and a lot of other firms, and they were talking about Y2K and what was likely to happen. What could happen? What are the scenarios we might encounter, and so forth. So between what Thomas Barnett said and then my research that followed it, which included Cantor Fitzgerald, that's really sent me on a different and quite a long path of research. And in my opinion, this is my opinion only, I think Howard Lutnick is a psychopath.
What are you basing that on?
I'm basing it on his actions following the demolition of the World Trade Center towers, and what everything that followed after that had to do with the what I found out about what they were doing with electronic trading on Wall Street. Now, Cantor Fitzgerald, they traded government securities, but then he added other activities to it, which includes energy trading, and ultimately they ended up being like Jeff Skilling of Enron. They were trying to develop systems to trade everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Turn everything into a commodity and trade it, on Wall Street. And the deeper you get into that concept of markets, of everything as a commodity and trading it on Wall Street, then that's when you can really see the psychopathy. And what I'm worried about now, it's not only Howard Lutnick, it's Peter Thiel and who's that other?
JD Vance. It's like the connection with JD Vance. I mean, I've been saying that right from the beginning. It's like he's got all the right words. He packages it right. He's got all the right words, but the background histories need to come forward so people can see exactly who these people are connected to. Now, he may be great. I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just saying that we've got to ask some very, very tough questions.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody seems to vet anybody because they're all like a bunch of turkeys, they're like, follow the flock this way and that way. And it's like, wait a minute, where's that one that steps up and says, hold on a minute, before we just run with everybody else in the pack of lemmings, let's start connecting the dots here. Because if they are this connected and such, you're talking about absolutely a financial powerhouse, and more capture of the supply lines, the money sectors, and the whole 10 yards there.
Well, and it really, you really do have to do kind of a deep dive to really understand. At the beginning of the program, you said Trump said he's going to give our country back to him. Now, why that? Why? I mean, back
he
to
said he was giving our country back to we the people.
We the people.
And so returning it to we the people. But I don't know if everybody really understands what that means.
Well,
that means that we have to be okay. We have to be educated enough. We have to be critical thinking enough to be able to run it. If we're going to continue to put these people in place that are, let's just say, news anchors, or that's a mouthpiece, for gosh sakes. Or are we going to be able to say, wait, hold the phone here? We are not going to continue to run after this celebrity class of politicians or who they tell us to follow, but think for ourselves and get somebody who's actually going to do the job, not just push the narrative. And I'm not seeing a lot of critical thinking going in that direction. So it's potential that President Trump has given everybody, he's playing a lot of strategy here. And I do believe the good guys are in control, because there would be more people dead than what we have right now. There's certain people that would be dead. They would have taken them out. And that's just the way it is. That's the reality we live in. And that's another one of those things that we're going to have to grow up and be able to deal with. There are certain people that would be dead by now if the good guys were not in control. That's just the way it is. And so with that said, the strategy that's here, we need to really follow and ask some questions on what's really going on. And maybe it's to help wake the people up yet to another level. Stop following people, follow the research, follow the lawful practices that were set up in the United States of America, follow things because you understand and that there's some receipts backing it, not just these people that come up and go, well, I like this person. Who do you follow? Who are you standing with? It's like, what are you doing here? You looking for a new flock of manipulators, or are you ready to think for yourself? We're never going to get there if we don't start thinking for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, if you follow people, you will be misled.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are you familiar with the idea of the free trade area of the Americas?
Just elaborate on it. I've heard I want to know where you're going before I make a comment here, because yes, but give me where you're going with this.
Okay, well, it's the idea that from the tip of Tierra del Fuego in Argentina to the very northernmost part of Alaska, that it would be a free trade area. Well, implicit in that concept is that we don't have a country anymore. We are part of a larger structure that the regional organizations that will control our area are the Organization of American States. That's the 34 member nations for the whole Americas. And then the connection to the UN is ECLAC, ECLAC, the Economic Commission of Latin American States or something.
Hold on a minute. I act like ACLC. Okay, this is crazy.
ECLAC.
ECLC, because this is going to be really, really disturbing, because I think there's another link here that I want to see if I can find it. Keep talking a minute, please.
Okay, the Spanish name for it is CEPAL, CEPAL. But it's the same structure. But with the UN, there are 5 regional commissions, and those 5 regional commissions will be the governing structure for the regions covered, defined as being under the direction of those regional commissions. Okay, that's the organizational structure. So what my fear is with what Trump said, we're going to turn the country back to you. What I'm worried about is what they mean is they're going to take the American government down. Constitution gone. We're under the free trade area of the Americas, and the regional governing structure under the United Nations.
Okay, I didn't find the connection I'm looking for here, but yeah, I think that there's a bit to be concerned on what's going on here, and I know about that, and it's like I'm off on another tangent over here on my other screen, because I wanted to bring up some key facts here that we have with all of these people that are sitting in position and who's being endorsed and such, and looking at this. So maybe this is what's happening here, is we're getting smart enough to look at these things and say, wait a minute. I've said for a long time, China is not a geographic country. It doesn't exist anymore. It is, we're talking about a whole bunch of proxy countries that are just, they make the population believe that they have a country to stand behind in order to manipulate them. And
that's what I think has happened to us.
Yeah, I can't say that you're entirely wrong. I'm hoping that there's enough good guys behind the scenes, and I believe that there are, that actually can knock this house of cards down of built on lies and deceit, because that's exactly what's happening. Our elections are crap. Did you see what's happening in Pennsylvania? And then not only Pennsylvania, but California. California is still counting the votes.
That's ridiculous.
You know what? If anybody sucked this bad in their jobs in business, you fired. They should be fired immediately, because it doesn't show, oh, we're being careful. No, you're not. They're being manipulative as hell. And it's a huge lie. So I want to bring out some points here that I think are fairly significant on some of I'm going to pick on Mike Rogers, okay, in Michigan, because Michigan has gotten into the stupid beyond all recognition category. And I'm going to say that. I know I'm going to have people say, oh, don't beat up on people. It's like, okay, I'm just going to say that and say, I get it. We're all being misled, right? But we've got to get smarter in the way that we approach things and stop following the cult of personality that is picking people for us and get into what's actually happening. I'm going to bring up one or two key points here that I think that I found that was fairly significant. And where I'm going to start this is looking into, I want to be able to make sure I'm saying this absolutely bomb-proof correctly here. His wife.
Who?
Mike Rogers' wife.
Oh, okay.
And this is, I did a post on it this morning. I'm trying to, it's always hard for me to do this online while I'm here because I'm at limited capacity here with real news for real people by real people at the kitchen table. But it's looking like he was behind killing the Benghazi investigation because he was the chairman. Rogers became chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, and according to the Federal Election Commission, political donations from the defense industry quadrupled. All legal rules, all routine in the family business of Washington. So here's an example, okay? And I posted the link on Telegram. Christy Clemens Rogers, 4 years ago, married a powerful chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. This is from a CNN transcript, and the CNN link was, I got to get the link date a minute. Forgive me, please. I'll have to go back and get that later. To switch screens, and I don't have enough capacity to do that right now. Anyhow, up until 2012, she was also the CEO of the American branch of AEGIS, defense and security contracting firm, where, according to her new employee, the law firm Manette, Phelps, and Phillips, Christy Rogers successfully developed and led a 2-year pursuit and capture strategy to win a 5-year, $10 billion contract under the Department of State's Worldwide Protective Services Program. It's an area her husband's committee has congressional oversight, making sure diplomats and their staffs are properly protected. She's not a registered lobbyist. She just happens to work for a firm that does extensive lobbying on its website, touts it as strong relationships in Congress, and solid record of success in securing legislation and federal funding on behalf of clients. New York Heart, and it's this kind of conflict of interest that leads to the deep distrust. So anyhow, we are told constantly, this is a man named Griffin said, we are told constantly by members of Congress, I never talk to my spouse about the issue. I never talk to her on business. There's a firewall between me and my sons who are lobbyists. And the fortunes go both ways. Mike Rogers' wife, Christy becomes CEO of a defense contractor, then is hired by a lobbying firm. Rogers becomes chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, and according to the Federal Election Commission, political donations from the defense industry quadruple, all legal, all within the rules, all routines in the family business. It just seems to go on and on and on. And here, I'm going to pull this up a minute. Here's an article I've been working down the links on this too, because there's good people out there that do the base work that you can go on and then see the links. Let's see what he says here.
Joining us now, our legal analyst, former U.S. Attorney to the District of Columbia, Joe DeGeneva. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
Is it me? I mean, so we spent the weekend at CPAC. I'm sure you watched much of it on television and saw much of the coverage. I'm thinking, here's where conservatives can sort of...
We're going to work through this, but I'll post the link to this article, which is a great place for everybody to start asking questions. How in the world... You look at somebody that's within the government and then somebody that's outside of the government, and it just seems like they're kind of working together. And I've seen enough links on killing the Benghazi investigation, as well as the working together between spouses and such. We've
Yes.
seen all that. So it's just like, we really got to be a little choosier than this. And why did this not come out when he was running for Senate? And you know why? Because nobody is talking about these things. And I got to tell you, before we get on, I like I said, I was trying to figure out whether I want to keep going with BNN in the same way I'm doing it, or maybe start doing some more legal, quasi-legal type attacks on some of these people. And it really became absolutely obvious to me that I really need to continue to wake people up and bring the truth forward, because I'm not seeing the level of investigation or really looking into by anyone. They're all pushing a narrative anymore, and I'm not believing one damn thing I'm seeing out there. I look at it and I go, yeah, that sounds plausible. We all do that, but let's look into this a little bit more. And I'm going to tell you what, when you tell people, wait a minute, let's check on this and see how this turns out. The entire internet last week was all of a sudden, Brunson case is going to come out, and it's going to come out to light on November 22, because that's the anniversary of JFK dying. And I'm like going, okay, sounds a little suspect to me, but let's just sit and wait and see. You cannot believe the manic attacks I got from people that were like, you don't understand, you don't know what's going on. And I'm like, well, guess what? I've got Lloyd Brunson's phone number. Let me just text him a minute. So I went and checked it out, and he absolutely was like, I don't know anything about this.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, I just keep telling, and he said, I haven't signed any NDAs. I mean, I know Lloyd, I've got his phone number, for gosh sakes. So, to call people and find out what's going on, and all those people that were pushing this narrative, this is another level of programming. And I hate to say it, we're going to have to call it out for what it is and stop the soft pawing everybody and saying, you're following somebody who is just another side, another wing of programming.
Yes.
You're not getting the truth.
The whole internet is just one big psyop.
Seriously, right?
Yeah. And so, I mean, I couldn't even begin to tell you the phases, the stages that I went through as I began to research on the internet. And pretty soon, you kind of figure it out. That's why I don't do any social media. I do my research from legitimate sources.
You go to source documents.
Yes.
And that's really those are the only people I want to listen to anymore, is you better provide the receipts or just stop. And I think that's another thing that we need to talk about, is the fact that, we've got to stop following people. I mean, don't necessarily even believe anything, everything that comes out of BNN. We're trying our best. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And if I find something that's wrong, I will absolutely retract it, which the Gateway Pundit never does. They do not retract things, because they did a hit job on me that did more damage than probably anything in my life. And that's calling me a billionaire, which is absolutely a bold-faced lie. And they printed it's liable. And, I still don't know what I'm going to do with this yet, because it was a lie, which brings into question their entire narrative. It's like everybody is mixing in crap with just enough truth to get people to follow it.
That's the method. That is intentional. That is.
That it was. They had to knock me out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's just astounding, when you look at the internet from the point of view of psychological operations. They are taking our country down. There's no question about it, as they bring up the United Nations as a global governing structure. They're taking our country down.
And I hope the good guys are behind it. I would think there would be a lot more people dead than what we have right now.
I
But
don't know.
unless
A
they're
lot
all
of people,
complicit,
yeah,
and we
a
have
lot
to
of
ask
people.
that question.
Mhm. So, but if
Sorry about that.
you did get rid of our government, if we had nobody to enforce the Constitution, then effectively we're at ground zero. We have no Constitution. We have no rights. We are just people on a continent. That's it.
Well, they've kind of taken our rights, and I love how people like to pick and choose.
Mhm.
They'll pick and choose the scriptures. They pick and choose the law. They pick and choose the Constitution. They pick and choose the means to an end. It's like, well, I've heard so many people say, I'm a patriot, but then guess what they do? They are involved in rigging the system. I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah. Well,
And
and the difficulty is that you don't know unless you've observed somebody for quite a long time. You don't know if they did something stupid because they didn't know, or if they did it intentionally, maliciously. And so, I mean, that's the whole environment of the internet as an information space. It's really complex. It's deceptively complex because we just hop on and read articles and communicate with people and all of that stuff. But as I said, there is a layer of psychological operations going on, and there are psychologists, groups of psychologists and psychiatrists, and they actually do target people.
you bet
And
they do.
so, so it's all very complex. So I just ignore all that crapola, and I do my research. That's what I do. And I go to great lengths to document everything I say. And I've had people complain about that, just give us the gist of it. But that's not my purpose. If you want the gist of it, go to somebody else. I'm documenting what I find because I want to know the bottom line of what's happening in the country.
And I love you. I love you for it. And I think that's everybody on BNN feels the same way, that we are here in order to get to the bottom of this. And I have people say all the time, I'm not going to watch BNN. It's too long. It's way too long of a broadcast. It's like, you're bad. Go ahead and do what you want to do. I really don't care. It's like people, and I feel really strongly about this, and I did right from the beginning, of giving people enough time to talk about their issues without, make your 3 points, You can always only talk about this, blah, 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 that mainstream fake stream media does, because they're curating the content, even by how much time they talk. Or if they say something wrong, man, those cameras get turned off, and they get turned off fast. And, it's sort of like, I don't have to agree with everyone. I don't agree with a lot of I don't agree 100% with anyone, even anybody that comes on BNN. I said, I listen, we're just listening to see what they have to say, and nuggets come out and that sort of thing. And more questions need to be asked, and more answers are out there, because this is a 1,000-year-old death cult we're up against right now, which has sub death cults underneath it, with people that we think are good people who are involved, and they're involved mightily, and they control the money. They're involved in this child trafficking. I tell you right now, the judges, the doctors, before they were trafficking people across the border and children across the border, there was a whole bunch of doctors and judges they would take these kids, and they were using them for sex trafficking and whatever else they used them for, because they're a bunch of sick bastards and psychopaths. And they would stitch the kids up, put them back together, and throw them right back into the pedophile networks again. We got enough people coming across the border right now. They don't need to do that. So they just kill them and dispose of them and use them for other purposes right now. I mean, this is pretty widely known, and people that are fighting it talk about it all the time. they don't need to patch these kids up because they got a constant supply coming in through our open borders. And thank you very much to the criminal Biden administration and the complicit as hell Republicans that turned the other cheek and watched them do it. They all know what's going on.
Yeah, that's all part of the plan to dismantle and destroy our country. You know, if did you ever follow what they did to establish the European Union?
Not as to a great extent as you have, I'm fairly certain, because it's like, but I'd like to hear your perspective. I mean, I really like to hear other people's perspective on it, and you've done so much work. Well, start educating, please.
Okay. Well, it started in the 1950s with the coal and steel community, which was really basically Germany and France, and having them work together rather than to compete with each other. And the agreements proceeded from there to basically create a regional governing structure, which we call the European Union. Didn't start out being called the European Union, and it was never really explained to the people of the individual nation states of Europe exactly what they were doing. They used these cooperation agreements, trade agreements, whatever it was that they called them, to ultimately stitch together what I found out was called a condominium governing structure. Now, when the first time I heard that, I thought it was very intriguing. It was Lawrence Eagleburger. When he came back from China, after the Tiananmen Square, he said in a hearing they wanted to talk about a condominium governing structure. Well, what that is that it's a regional superstructure sitting over the top of your countries. So that's what the European Commission is. It is a condominium governing structure, sits over the top of the nations of Europe. But it's really the European Commission that runs everything. And that's the same thing that they've done with our country with the Organization of American States. The Organization of American States was established 1948, I think. Now, there was some predecessor organization, but 1948 is when they started calling it the Organization of American States. And that governing body is the same or very, very similar to the European Commission. You see, all of this stuff, I knew nothing about any of this, absolutely nothing. So everything I've learned, it has been since I started researching. So, and I've put the pieces together.
Well, and what's a beautiful thing is when you get all the researchers together and we pool all of our knowledge in our areas of experience or those things that we've been interested in, looked in, you get a really robust picture of what's really going on here. Now, what I've always thought, and I might be wrong, and you can correct me because we want to get to the truth, is that I really think they started it way back in the 1800s and putting this together. And I really do, because when I look at it, World War I was really about setting up the Federal Reserve and the International Monetary Fund. And then after that, World War II was about the UN. Am I correct?
Yeah, essentially. Okay. Essentially.
It's a dumbed down version of it, of the moving pieces in this, certainly, but I think that's kind of what we need to realize is this is a beast system. This is a beast system, and it's economic. and they have been working to starve people out for a long time, and we're not getting the truth. So this is another thing, is that I'm going to be jumping on TikTok here pretty quickly, and trying to get the word out there through TikTok. And I know everybody, oh, it's Chinese owned, on and on and on. Now it's actually coming out of Texas right now. But regardless, we have to use all of the weapons available to us to win this war. And sometimes you go in and you gotta use what you have at hand. These people control every damn thing, people, and you can't sit there on your purity perch and say, I don't want anything to do with it. Well, you know what? Maybe this is part of the fire that you need to run right into, instead of running away from it and be able to sit there, like a cat licking its paws on your purity perch. I'm gonna try using TikTok. And I think that from what I heard is that they're actually being run by an entity in Texas, which makes it look like we've got some motion, just like what happened with Twitter and Elon taking that over. I think that there's some moving parts here that we can't get stuck in entrenched things that we've been told, not knowing what they are right now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, the thing is,
how I feel about it. And then one more thing. The other thing that I know is that TikTok and all the other providers out there, they're regional. Everything right now is being regionalized. We are not getting the news in let's say Michigan, which I'm not in Michigan right now, just in case anybody wants to know. But we are getting different news across the United States based on the regional puppet masters and what they want to have put out there. And
that's because they're breaking up our country into regions.
They are breaking it up.
If you look at that, the last article that I posted there in the chat, it's called Idaho in the Context of Regionalism and Global Trade. You'll see the region that Idaho is in. And the thing is that it's not, it is actually coded into Idaho law that Idaho is a member of the Pacific Northwest Economic Region. Okay, and if you scroll down there, that is the Pacific Northwest Economic Region.
Interesting. It took in Canada, didn't it, guys? Can you see what they're doing here? Is that it literally is transcending anything that we think of as borders. We're just not watching this to see what's actually happening, and stuck into the narrative of, don't look here, look over here. Let's look at the Brunson case for a while. Let's look at this for a while. Do you see what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Well, this organization, I never would have found it, except that one of our legislators wrote a memorial opposing NAFTA, but supporting the PNWER, the Pacific Northwest Economic Region. And I said, what the hell is that? And I did a search on it, and that's what it is. It's the 4 or 5, it's Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana in the U.S., and then the Canadian states immediately above us, going all the way up to Alaska. The Yukon wasn't in it to begin with, but they added that.
Do you have one for Michigan? Where do I find the links for the other areas?
Well, let me find it for you, because Michigan is definitely in a regional area.
I want to see, because I want to see what Gretch the Wretch has been playing with here, and her squire Nessel and the court jester Benson with our elections, and who, I might add, because I did show this last week, who has the Kennedy lantern, and that's all you need to know right there. And it wasn't, because I don't know if you watched it last week when I was exposing the Kennedy Lantern Award.
No.
Oh, yeah, there you go. You want to find out who's the bad guy, check out who's got these Kennedy lanterns. And it's not that they were in honor. It was, sometimes I think it was Robert Kennedy says, hang a lantern on your problem. And they gave these awards out to show people who was involved in the assassinations of their family members. I'm convinced of it. Though I've only heard one other person say that, and that would be Judah Ayers. And who is a friend of mine. And so, it's like, look at it. They're not telling you that this is an honor, They're hanging a lantern on their problem. And the problem was the ones that assassinated their family members or were involved in this nonsense that's going on because President Kennedy was trying to tear the CIA and all this nonsense down. That's why they killed him. Don't screw with the intelligence organizations unless you're somebody who doesn't give a crap if you live or die, I guess
well, they certainly have been supporting the destruction of the United States, it seems.
The intelligence organizations?
Yes.
Of course. And right now they're indistinguishable from Mossad and GCHQ. It's a global crime syndicate. Part of it. Sometimes I wonder if Schwab, Gates, and Soros are actually above or below. I really kind of think that they're just a public puppet that people can look at and hate. Because if you look at Gates, he isn't all that smart. He didn't even come up with it. He didn't come up with jack crap. It was the people around him that put him in the position he's in. He's a good face, but he's not that intelligent.
Most of the people that are in office are just
they're puppets. Just like pull the strings, guys, pull the strings.
Mm-hmm.
Zuckerberg, nah, I'm out on him too. They're not that smart. They got handed this stuff.
Well, they're techies, and so well, I'm not sure in the case of Zuckerberg. I think he was just he might have been related to somebody.
Grandson of Rockefeller, a Rockefeller grandson.
Oh, is that right? Well, then definitely, yeah,
I believe that to be true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I was going to tell you about the whole deal with relatives. That started because Saudi Arabia, the king, they had a tradition that if you wanted to do business with the Saudis, you had to pay some kind of a tribute to one of his sons, because he had so many of them. And so that's when that whole thing started, because it was against the law for American corporations to pay gratuities to public officials in other countries to make a deal. And so, shoot.
That's okay. It's kind of an interesting time, but I think this is really a very important subject to bring up, is that we've got to start really thinking here, because there's I'm gonna really push the buttons here a little bit, because everybody wants to have a protected class of citizens and or of people that are involved in different organizations. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm very proud of our military men and women. But that doesn't mean that everybody in the military gets a pass just because they flashed the stripes, right?
Uh-huh.
Look at Milley, for example. Do people think he's the only one?
Oh gosh, that would be ridiculously naive.
Very, very naive. And the point being is that we need to be able to question everything. I mean, I honor all of our military people. Don't get me wrong. But it's the same thing I was talking about last week. I will never forgive Tudor Dixon, who is an abysmal disgrace to the human race, for throwing out there the fact that she was running for governor, and I was running against her too. And she throws up, her dad died during her run, and she had cancer. And I'm like, you're despicable. You do not throw out in a job interview with the American people to run the state or the country your personal problems in order to get the freaking pity vote. It doesn't qualify you to run an ant farm because you have cancer or because your dad died during your run. And the reason why I say this is I could have said the same thing. My dad died during my run. My dad passed away Valentine's Day of 22.
Yeah, that's so inappropriate to bring that up.
It is a disgrace, and it's programming. And the other thing is cancer. Guess what? I got diagnosed with cancer years ago. I don't throw it out there for pity points because it's one of those things that I was kind of like, oh, cool. God gave me cancer. This is kind of okay. And I'm going to, and I look at it that way. It's like he didn't give it to me, but he allowed me to have cancer. And guess what? One of the greatest gifts of my life. I never skipped a beat. I never cried. I never had a problem with it. I'm like, okay, let's figure this thing out because nobody else knows how to fix it. I guess I'll take this on myself and figure out what's going on. Oh, it's not coming through. It says file or directory not found. Ooh, that's interesting.
What?
Wonder if they're blocking you. Let me try that. Let me try another browser. I'll try Brave. So this is another thing. Adapt and adjust when things go wrong. You just got to adapt and adjust. Don't cry about it.
Yeah.
Get another plan. Yeah. I mean, that's the way I feel about everything. But it is not coming up. File or directory not found.
That is weird.
Yep.
Oh, I have a slash at the
end. Take the slash
copy
out.
and paste it in your browser and delete that backslash.
Okay, I'll take that out. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah, there we go. Now we got it. So Let me see if I can get it.
Apparently I don't have Michigan in there. I'll find out what region you're in.
Yeah. And then I'm kind of curious now because it's like, what region is Gretch the Wretch playing with? Mm-hmm. Because this is a problem. And we need, you really want to know what I think we should do? I think we should treat the states like the way that it was originally intended, but they need to be treated as their own country. And, rather than all of these big economic powerhouses, the only way to do it is to get rid of these big treaties, the international treaties, these economic agreements and such, and go back to the fact, if we want we the people to be able to run it, we're going to have to dismantle this and go back to states' rights.
I have a copy of, I think it's the 2009 publication by the State Department of all the treaties and agreements that the United States is involved in. It is astounding.
Look at the sponsors for this bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The corporate partners.
Yep, we got the private-public partnerships there. You've got Big Pharma. You've got the ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil is the largest corporation, I believe, in the world. Well, it may have changed out. I don't know, but here we go.
Okay. Now there are the regions.
Well, we're in Aslan. Looks like AZT. Aslan. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at this. All right. Pick your area, people. Where have you been divided up into? This is so much bullshit.
What region are you in?
Yeah, what region are you in? What is your new overseeing authority? These people need to be taken to Gitmo.
Yeah, I did that report probably, maybe 10 years ago. So it could be updated. It needs to be updated.
I want to see what we have here. I'm gonna go. I'll spare everybody from me noodling around on the internet here, but I want to go and see what comes up under this, because I think this is where we need to go and check out Aslan. It comes up as the ancestral home of Aztec peoples. Now you know what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. Somebody's going to go, oh, I know the United States was where the Aztecs actually lived because, you know, everything changed. Really?
Yeah.
Really? All right. That is programming, pure and simple. What's the word for it? Atlantic what?
It is programming.
It is programming. It's craziness.
They're using Indian tribes as tools. And I had one girl try and tell me that we were talking about, you know, sagebrush in the Pacific Northwest. And she tried to tell me that the sagebrush was brought over here by a Russian, you know, kind of like a Johnny Appleseed clone. But instead of bringing apples, he brought sagebrush. I just, oh my God, where did, you know, how could you possibly believe that?
Yeah, it's like you got to look it through. You know, there's actually some really amazing folklore. I'll look at the folklore, but I want to. So no, that's the Southwest area right there. So there isn't even a name in your article. I'm not seeing the name for
Azatlan. That may not be an official. That was what the Hispanic groups like Maldef and the other one, I forget what the other one is. That's what they wanted for their region. I'm not sure they got it.
Regional economic what is it called? Regional economic. What would I do and look for Michigan?
Look for go to Google Images and type in economic region as one phrase, and then Michigan as another.
Let's see what it comes up. What is an economic region? Economic development. Well, yeah, we've got the Economic Development Corporation in Michigan, which they have absolutely. Michigan Regional Economic Analysis. Oh, this is going to be fun to go down here. This is something they don't want us to get out there. I can guarantee you that.
Well, no, because it gives away the whole game. Because you know what they did to the Soviet Union? They broke it up, and then there were they created the Commonwealth of Independent States. Well, that's probably what they're going to do to us.
Well, right now, you know, Eastern Michigan Council of Governments, Regional Prosperity Initiative. What the hell is that?
Oh man, that is a deep dive. Those councils of government. You know, we vote for politicians and we think they run the country. They don't. Yeah. They don't do anything. It's these councils of government that are really the power in your area.
Here's a list of regions in the United States on Wikipedia. Census Bureau. Let's see if this, you know, okay, here. Morning, Chris. How you doing?
Good morning. Fine. How are you?
Good. Really good. You're looking less CIA-esque this morning.
Less.
Or I should say a Secret Service-esque. You know, there you go. Put your glasses on. There you go.
I have to. Yeah. These are good glasses.
Okay, so here we've got let's see, the Midwest designated North Central region. So let's see, it looks like there you go. We've got Southwest New England. I'm not finding what I'm looking for here, but it's kind of interesting.
No, I'll have to find it for you because they don't make it easy for you to.
No, they don't. I can't do this while I'm online here anyhow. So there you go. It's I can look things up, but I can't look everything up because it's there's like too many things going on here. So.
Hey, Donna.
Yeah.
I heard you mention, well, she mentioned, both of you, about the regions and everything and councils. And I'm just wondering, maybe we should look up Ron Weiser and go deeper into his Atlantic Forum Council. And I'm wondering if that Atlantic Forum Council has anything to do or any connection to the health, the WHO, because the WHO wanted to make a treaty with the United States of America to be able to have the power in which to override any governmental vote or.
Well, I think they did that with the Pan American Health Organization, because the Pan American Health Organization is.
And that's not even, that's not.
Oh, Chris is freezing up. Brought up a scary topic to them.
Well, I will find I'll go do that research again and find the economic regions, because as I said, that research that I did, that I have published on my old website, is about 10 years old. So, but basically they are breaking up, they will be breaking up the United States into economic regions.
Here we go. I've got some here. Here's map of economic regions. Let's see if I'm getting a good one. I don't know if any of this is up to date. You know, it's like, I'm kind of wondering here.
What I use the Google Images for is to get the name of the region, and then I can do a search on that name.
We've got Midwest here. Here, I'll show you what I'm looking at right now. See if this, it's at USA West, Midwest, South, and Northeast. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to be helpful.
Yeah, it depends on what they define the region for. And who's publishing it.
Yeah, who's publishing it and where, because there's got to be like an official one. If we went to an official, there has to be.
For Idaho, for that Pacific Northwest economic region, it's an Idaho law. And I did look that law. It's there. It was the first one. They did it. They set that up in 1991.
Oh. Huh. So that's really something. So when we find that, guys, we'll put that out there and try to figure out what's going on here in the United States, because I know that like in South and Central America too, you know, back to your research here, that I was aware of that we have how many proxy countries in South and Central America? Not even real countries. It's sort of like Ukraine. Yeah, it's like Ukraine. Ukraine is a hotbed of, doesn't really exist.
Now, that's something interesting that I found that I haven't researched yet. But if you go to the OAS website and do a search on the name Ukraine, Ukraine somehow got involved with the Organization of American States.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I haven't figured out, I haven't looked at it enough to figure out what the heck, you know.
Look at that. Trade and Investment Cooperation Agreement. See if Chris is back. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us again.
That would be a trade agreement. I mean, that sounds like a trade agreement.
Yeah. Down in Washington, D.C. on the 28th day of March, 2008. Let's see what we got going on here. Oh no, the secure connection failed. Whatever shall we do? Let's go back. Huh. Interesting. Ukraine will not extradite citizens. Blah, blah, blah.
So it's like they want to join the Americas region, you know.
So here's scheduled Ukraine Annex 3. The heck is that?
I don't know, man.
Yeah. CUFTA will create new opportunities for Canada and Ukrainian companies. Bilateral commercial relationship as they sell us out. Sorry.
Well, that's the whole big problem with these trade agreements, there is no guarantee that the country that you sign this trade agreement with is going to protect your interests. And in fact, I think that they don't. Like Mexico is a transit zone, for the invasion of our country, all these people coming not just from South America, but from all over the world through Mexico into our country. And Canada was doing the same thing, although to a lesser extent.
Well, I guess I'm going to say to everybody right now that, you know what, we could sit here and beat ourselves up all day for refusing to get in the game sooner and not attacking us. But this started way before any of us were born.
Yes. It started before I was born.
Now we got to get in the game and say, look, this is not okay, and refuse to be their little minions and slaves in their global conquest of we don't matter to them.
Oh, absolutely. I had a State Department guy say that to me. We were having a problem with a massive influx of refugees. And a group of us here in the town I'm in, we started writing about it and, trying to reach people. We had a couple of marches, and the local newspaper brought out a State Department official to speak at the local college to talk about refugee resettlement. And he told me to my face, we don't matter. We don't, they can just dump foreigners right into our small town in Idaho. And what we say doesn't matter a bit.
I agree. I agree with that. I've seen it in my local township. We had a whole bunch of people that asked questions about a development that was coming in from out of the area, developer out of the area. They blew right past every single citizen that was in there, never answered one question, didn't do anything, rubber stamped it. Mm-hmm. Rubber stamped it. And the township supervisor had the gall to look at everybody in there and say, development is the priority.
Yeah.
It's like, well, thanks for admitting to violation of your oath of office and treason, because you literally, and I said, what difference does this make whether we're doing this, how do I say it, with China or with the developers who are funded by the foreign money? It's the same damn thing.
Yeah. Well,
what is it? How do you justify that?
They opened up our country totally. I mean, they import people from all over the world. As a matter of fact, what caused me to start researching inland ports and such was because Meridian, Idaho, brought in a delegation of communist Chinese, 23-person delegation of Chinese to invest in Idaho. And that just blew my cork. And so I started researching, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. That this stupid town in Meridian is going to be importing foreign money. Have you ever looked at the EB-5 visa program?
Nope.
Well, it's the way, basically, they are selling citizenship to the United States. There's a price on those visas, but they bring investor money into a local area. And a lot of times the foreigners that invade your area come with that money.
Okay, this is a new level of nonsense I was not aware of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's going to be a lifetime pursuit to try to figure out every single little bit of nonsense that they've pulled.
Yeah, every rotten thing to destroy our country that they could do, they've done.
Well,
so whatever your impression of whatever your impression of what the United States is and was, is not really valid anymore.
What it ever was.
Well, that's a good question. I can't
Ouch.
answer that.
That hurt, didn't it?
Yeah. So I don't, I don't know. I just know from where I started researching and what I've found out is that I know they are trying to dismantle our country. That's their objective. They want.
I'm going to give it a whir and hope, and realize that I do believe the good guys are in control. There'd be a lot more people dead. I'm going to hold on to that belief that God is with us. And it seems, when you start looking at it, it seems like so every time you peel back a layer of corruption, there's another 20 in different directions. But you know what the commonality is to this? That I see? It's that the everyday person is not educated enough on what they're doing and ends up becoming a captured asset to push their narrative, to go along to get along, instead of saying, we need a full stop right now and just figure out how to back out of this thing,
Well, and that's really kind of why I started researching, because if you don't understand the problem fully, if you don't get to a point ahead of where the problem started happening, you could be taken in and follow a wrong path and help the enemy, actually help them inadvertently. And so, I didn't want to do that. I mean, because problem solving is what I did with computer programs, find the bug in the program. And so you got to get ahead of where the problem abnormally terminated, so you can see what the logic was that got you there and fix that. Because if you don't, you're going to have cascading and compounding problems.
Well, and I think, going back to that is that one of the best ways to solve everything, it's getting control of the money. We got to get control of the money. How do you stop the debate on abortion? You defund it. First step. And some people can't do that because, then people are going to kill babies. It's like, are you an idiot? They're already killing babies. Okay.
Yeah.
We got to make some motion here instead of being in a deadlock of a belief system. And it's like and the first way to do it is to start cutting some of these financial ties and funding of things that should not be funded by the government. If somebody got in there and had the balls to do what needs to be done, which is a crass way to say it, but it's true, you go in there and you start nullifying and you cut hard, you cut deep, and you don't stop until you get to the bottom of corruption.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, one agency that I'd like to see cut is the Economic Development Administration.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All kinds of bad stuff comes from there. They're the ones that are funding the Marxists in our communities.
That's what Whitmer's been using in the state of Michigan Economic Development Corporation. That is a cesspool of corruption. Mm-hmm. Totally. And I think the other one is the right place, the right way, the right place. They're all involved. There's a whole bunch of them that have like a network and they kind of work together.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that they did was to privatize social services.
Yeah.
That was the worst thing that was
and
ever
the jails
done in this country. Yeah, privatize the jails, the prisons. I mean, you know how stupid you have to be to say, yeah, private prisons is a good idea. Well, I saw one piece of legislation coming through the Idaho legislature where they wanted to, the bail bonds company, they wanted to have a $10,000 bail for a first-time offense for driving while under the influence. even with no accident, nobody hurt, nothing. $10,000. Can you imagine what that would do to someone that's like 20 years old? I mean, that would destroy their life, basically. They would spend almost like the rest of their life paying that off.
Well, is that with an accident or with a just for drunk driving? Well, that right there is an unlawful action because there's no victim and the state can't be the victim. And so how can they even go there? Because if there's no victim, there's no crime.
Yeah. Well,
there you go.
I think there should be some
knowledge.
punishment, but $10,000, I mean, come on. Or if they're what do you call those, repetitive, like a person that gets, might have 5 or 6 or 7 drunk driving things. Yeah, okay. You give them a fine, put them in jail because they're not learning a lesson.
Well, and I think that there's some work that we need to do there, certainly. And reform of everything right now is because it's all stuff that they've written into law. They've written it into law that is really against the Constitution. So we haven't dealt with any of this stuff. We haven't dealt with mental health. We haven't dealt with our healthcare system. It's just gone from one piece of crap to a bigger piece of crap.
That's because government partnered with corporations. That was
right.
Part of Clinton Gore's reinvention of government. Was basically to allow corporations to be self-regulating, and government became the facilitators for corporations, and they basically just threw the people to the wolves. Except for the welfare people. They did get those people jobs, but they got those people jobs in the privatized social services. That's why you have so many, this is not going to sound nice, but they have so many low IQ people in social services working in our communities. And so, I mean, it's just, everything is just so
programmed,
messed up. Messed up.
So programmed that it's kind of shocking. Every day that we keep walking forward into this, it's becoming increasingly obvious how much programming is actually going on out there. It's crazy. Is there anything else that you want to bring up here on this that we can throw another little tentacle into research?
No, I'll just say that what I'm working on is the energies commodities market, because that's what Howard Lutnick was into. And so, and that is so important because they've turned into a commodity. And so you've got the Chicago Climate Exchange and Cantor Fitzgerald and Wall Street. Everything has become a commodity. So we vote for a representative to represent us, but our country is being manipulated in the background through these commodities markets. And so I'm trying to pull together all the research that I've done on that so that I can make a coherent article, because you have to take a deep dive in this to really understand it. It's not that it's hard, but that it is so out of our experience. There's nothing in life that prepared us for understanding a commodities market.
And the concept of what a country is, what it should be, yes, what we want it to be, what we believed it to be, and how it's really functioning. There's some doors that are opening up for me to see how things are really functioning. And it is a crazy, crazy, crazy situation. Really crazy.
Yeah. Because I think probably you and I growing up, we had the same understanding of our country, what it is, and our representative form of government and all this stuff. Well, the deeper you do a dime in researching. Our country is nothing like we thought it was. Absolutely nothing
I
is
agree
like
with
we
that.
thought it was.
You know, we grew up and it was like, you know, we voted from people that we believed their narratives. We believed what they said. We wanted to believe that, you know, and I think that there's a point where people have to realize that when you're dealing with someone who's a psychopath, they're not like you and they're not going to reform. It is almost impossible for somebody who's a psychopath to reform. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's highly unlikely. And what they do doesn't include any amount of empathy. They will kill without remorse or regret. They will steal without remorse or regret because they don't see you as a person. They literally have, and that's another whole subject to go down, right? They literally don't see other people as people. They don't see that. That's why, you know, a lot of people who are psychopaths, they torture animals when they're little. You'll if you see somebody that tortures animals or does things like that when they're little, you're probably dealing with a natural born psychopath. There's something wrong in their brains, you know? Like my one daughter, she is extraordinarily mentally ill. She was in a train accident, had her head smashed in India, and she is not capable of thinking because she has a closed head injury. And you can't expect people to do that. Not, you know, we have, but what's really odd is people will look at her and they won't realize that she actually has a brain injury for a while. She seems kind of sweet and like, you know, like, oh, but there's something off. And because of the way that human beings are predisposed, you know, we want to believe the best of people. We want people to be like us. We're a herd animal. When someone is not, it is so disturbing for most people. They can't handle it. So all of a sudden they'll go into the hate, you know, they'll go into hate rather than into reality. They go into hate. Morning, Christina. How you doing, babe?
Oh, I am here.
Well, we got talking about psychopaths, and they're natural born psychopaths that are out there. You are not going to change them. No matter what you do, you're not going to change them. And I love it when these social justice warriors come out and they're going to make everything right because they're so damn smart and they know everything. And then they go home at the end of the day and they eat their, you know, fat-free cookies, and they, you know, they go in, they sip their lattes and talk to everybody about how much good they've done for the world. They've never done a damn thing except for put their opinion into the hat. And they don't understand to that point because they still believe that they're so good, they're so damn smart that they're going to change things that cannot be changed. And that's where we have to accept, you know, that we have to accept some things cannot be changed. And, you know, hey, Christina, was I supposed to keep you off? I'll remove you while you're putting your makeup on. How's that? So, you know, they absolutely cannot be changed. You're not going to change it. My mom, today was my mom's birthday, and she died in August. And, you know, she used to come and say, you know, I'm praying so hard for her. And I'm like, Mom, you got to stop this. And it's not that I didn't want to pray for her, but it's like, she's not going to change. We've prayed for her. And in God's time, I believe she will be changed. But to agonize every day over something that's this painful, you got to sometimes accept it and play the cards that you're dealt. And she never really got past it. She's like, I'm praying that she's going to be totally healed. And I'm like, you know what? She might be, but we got what we got. And I don't believe in living in a Disney World reality. You got to live with what you have, and God gives you things for a reason. It's just like cancer, you know, and I can talk about it. I absolutely have the ability to talk about this. Sometimes you just have what you have. And sure, God can cure anyone. However, sometimes the maladies in life are some of the biggest blessings that we could ever receive. And you'd never get there if you weren't handed something that you would never, ever choose. I would never have chosen what my daughter has had to go through. Not in a million years would I have chosen that path. But the blessings out of it have been spiritual ones that I could never, ever, ever, and the people around her could never get any other way. So we accept them and say, someday it's going to change. But psychopaths, you are not going to change them.
Yeah. And the thing is that you can't really, you can't understand what goes on in their mind.
You can't.
And if you think you can, then you're just terribly mistaken.
My daughter is, look, for a while, she can hold it together for a little while, but it doesn't last. And the longer she's around massive amounts of people, the more agitated she gets. And this is another thing with like autism. Can I bring you on, Christina? Give me a thumbs up, buddy. Okay. And so, oh, Chris is back too. So we're talking about Mika and some of the issues we have with her, right? And the point being is that she looks really sweet for a while, but after a while, everybody starts getting uncomfortable around her, especially children, because they think she's like a child. And then all of a sudden, people start getting really afraid, because that's what mental illness looks like. If you're around true mental illness, I'm not talking about, oh, I'm having a depressed day today. No, I'm talking about missing half of your brain, which she is, via CAT scan, and what that really, really looks like. It's so disturbing to people that they have no ability to cope with it. And this is why we're not able to, bring the hammer down on people who are serial rapists or people that commit crimes and such. Well, they look like us. We just have to be a little bit better and show them how to behave better. They're not going to turn around. End of freaking story. There's something fundamentally wrong with them. And continuing to let them go and let them out into the community means that they are going to victimize more people and absolutely trash the lives of the people that they come in contact with. And I can tell you right now, my daughter, if she did not have the meds she's on, if she did not have the care that she's getting, she's under the care of a psychiatrist on top of things, I would flip a coin with you to let you know that she would be a danger to herself and society. And there's nothing any do-gooder can say that's going to change that, because they've never spent any time with somebody who is truly mentally ill.
I want to comment on something you said about, the things that we get, like, some people have cancer and stuff like that. And you never know the blessings that come out of those things. I never thought in my life that I would be addicted to drugs for 12 years. Never in my life did I think that would be something that happened to me. But the person that it made me and the outcome of it, I would never change that. Would never change that about my life. And when people look at me, they don't necessarily know that, and they don't think that is something that I would have went through. But I am a product of the Oxycontin generation. My entire generation is. I've been to 32 funerals of people that I grew up with. But you wouldn't know that. And the things that has taught me has made me have the drive that I am. And I tell people, there is nothing that you can do to me. Nothing that you can do to me that will be worse than what I did to myself. And it's made me just an incredible, strong person. And I wouldn't change that for anything. Because I don't know who I would be. Maybe one of these punk-ass liberals or something.
Yeah, I think embracing all things and learning from them, and not pigeonholing yourself into a label either. That's another thing that's wrong with this, is that the labeling of people. I don't really think that God labels people like that necessarily, right? I think he opens his arms and says, anyone who wants to shall enter in. No matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, the hardships you were dealt, the bad decisions that we've all made at some point in time, the only one that was perfect was Jesus Christ. And he refused to throw the stone. He said, come on in, we will help and take you as you are, because and we'll walk through this journey of life together, and hopefully we'll get, somebody else the other day was talking about, wanting to go to some sort of violence. And I'm like, you know what, to resolve problems, they said, we don't want to go to violence. We don't want to see people that have made bad decisions fail or die or whatever. We want them to turn around and do the right thing. Some people have no capacity to do that. And I'm just saying, there is a lawful way of dealing with all of them. But even if someone is punished for doing horrific crimes, and no one should be happy about seeing someone fall. We should all feel very sad that person has made bad decisions and that it just had to be dealt with.
Well, it's not just that. It's humans lack the. I'm breaking up. Humans lack this day. It's like so much is placed on who you are, what side you're on, and it seems like we lack the compassion to put ourselves in other people's shoes. It's just not there anymore. So many things have negatively changed about this world, and no one understands why that is. Well, when you put negative things out, when you exist the way the United States has and cause the death of large amount of people, that shit ripples back onto you. So, and right now, these young kids specifically, to the mental illness thought, they think mental illness should be celebrated. And it's
I know,
like,
I can't understand. It's like a badge of honor to go ahead and throw another label on yourself. Like the person with the most amount of damn labels wins the prize.
I know.
It's like, and most of them are made up anyway. It's like, it's like to justify behavior instead of saying, you know what, you don't have to accept this. You can be whatever you want to be. We're still in the United States, even if it's taken. The economic people think they've taken this over and they've broken us up into regions. These people are idiots, because there's one thing that trumps, and I'm not saying that as President Trump, I'm saying that as that supersedes their little nonsense treasonous plan, and that's the American spirit. That's the spirit of human beings who refuse to be pushed into a freaking boxcar for, or whatever it is that they want to stuff us down on. You know what? They've just ignited, and I think this is a really, really good thing to remember. They've ignited that American spirit, that human spirit again, the spirit of love and compassion, which is a billion times stronger than their spirits of fear, subversion, tyranny, all of it. They cannot win. Chris, I can't hear you, buddy, and your sound is off.
My daughter came home one day and told me that her counselor thought that she was bipolar. And I sat her down and I explained one thing about your brain. Whatever you train your brain to be your truth, buddy, that's going to be your truth. So if you keep putting labels on top of yourself, then all of those labels will be true. That's why I don't agree with labeling people. I don't like, even as a someone that has used drugs before. That is not who I am anymore. I'm not going to go around telling everyone I'm an addict. I'm an addict. I'm an addict. That's not who I am. That's who I was, 10 years ago, but it's not who I am now. And if people continue to put these labels on people and you believe the bullshit, that's the programming 101. That is legit neurolinguistic programming 101. Someone tells you you're something, you're like, oh, well, just like the shit that happened with COVID. All of a sudden now everybody's gay. And I'm like, well, you weren't fucking gay before COVID, but now you are, because TikTok is, put that shit in your face, or social media has put that shit in your face. I'll bet you find out 5 years from now, half these people who said they're gay or lesbian or trans, they ain't that shit anymore. It's fucking ridiculous. I can't stand this place. I want to burn it down. Serious. But I won't.
There's just so much. Can you talk yet, Chris? Can we hear you? You want to try? Can't hear you. You want to go out and come back in? We'll see if he comes out. I know you can hear me. So, I think the point being though is that when people think that, you listen to so many people, it's like I'm not worth anything. So then they've got to align with a group of people to make themselves feel better about themselves. I can honestly say I don't need that, and I'm pretty sure you don't either. It's like whether somebody likes us or not, it's like I'm going to be true to myself, because at the end of the day, it's God Almighty that said that we were worthy, and we were so worthy to him that he sent his only begotten son to die for us so that he can be with us forever. I mean, it's the craziest thing that and how much more can he do to convince us that he actually loves us? I don't think there's anything else that could be done. I honestly don't. He gave his only begotten son. And it's like, are you kidding me? Because we're train wrecks.
And not only has he done that, but he's given us this beautiful earth, and he's given us the ability to love, and he's given us family, and he's given you the sunset, and so many things. If you have gratitude for the things that you have, your life will be a lot easier, because that's the way the good Lord intended it. Just be grateful. If you're having a shitty day, be grateful for that shitty day. I mean, it doesn't take much.
And it's like, even looking to these economic areas that we're looking at, we've got to be adult enough to look through them and know what they've done. Let's try it again, Chris. Can you talk?
I don't know. Can I?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
there you go. Yay, Chris is back.
I've got a voice.
You got a voice.
It's great to be heard.
Yeah. Well, you're not dead anymore, so that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, actually, Chris has a great story to tell about dying and coming back to life, it's amazing. Yeah,
that's that I'll never forget. That's like remembering what happened yesterday. I wanted to comment on one of the things that y'all were talking about the you have the right to believe to anything you want to. I don't care if you think that marrying.
There's Chris. He's out again. Hopefully he'll be back. It's the disappearing Chris. You're muted now. Oh my goodness.
It's Monday morning.
Okay, there. Chris is back. Yay, Chris.
One nation. So I was gone the whole time. This is great.
You were gone the whole time. Start over again. You said you don't care who marries who.
I mean, if you think that a stuffed animal is going to be your wife or your husband, you keep that in your house. That's your business, and that's between you and God, because God found this country, and this country is united on God. It even says it. One nation under God, indivisible. That means we cannot be divided. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty, which means freedom for all. It's for everybody. So it's not to impose your mental illness on me. If you want to go in your house and do and believe in cupcakes and fairy tales, and that's fine. That you can do that. But don't try to make it a culture. Don't try to make your belief something that I have to believe in. I mean, to me, that's subversion.
They've turned it into a religion, is what they've done, and then they're proselytizing their belief system to everyone else. And if you don't capitulate to the alternative belief systems, well, off with your head kind of stuff, or dox you, or any of this nonsense. It's like, I don't have to agree with or believe what anybody believes. Like, knock yourself out. It's between you and God. As long as it's not, as long as you don't hurt other people, it's like, quite honestly, we were given a choice on many things. And sometimes we don't learn until we make lots of bad choices and get ourselves figured out. But that figuring out process is valuable, in my opinion. What say you?
I do agree, and I also think that mental illness to be exploited as a, a top tier way to follow is not the way to go. That too is subversion of this country and should be dealt with immediately as it occurs, to show everybody else uh, what what the rule of law is all about. We're a nation of laws. We're not a nation of fairy tales. You know, we've already dismantled the mental health uh, uh, institutions of our government. We just tore the paper up and said, you know what? Forget them. Kick them out of the buildings and just let them be homeless. Let them exist.
Yeah.
We'll drive around them. And that is so inhumane. And now they're out there believing with the delusion, even though they're a man, even though they've got all of the signs, their birth certificate even says it.
Y chromosomes say it all.
Yep. And so for them to sit there and believe that they're the opposite sex is delusional.
That's mental
It is a
illness.
delusion.
Delulu.
It is a delusion. It should not be celebrated. It should be looked at as sad. This is someone that needs help. They need our help desperately. These people are not looking through the same eyes as we are. And there's something wrong upstairs, and that's not going to change either. That's not something that is going to be fixed. That's that's like a wire that was supposed to go in that direction, instead hooked up to that one, and it cannot be reversed.
Well, I don't
It
know that.
is.
Go ahead, but I want to comment
No,
on
go
what you
go
just
ahead.
said.
Go ahead.
I
Well,
don't know that it's a wire that was crossed. Maybe for some people, because I have a lot of gay friends that say that they, were born that way, but they were gay long before 2020. So I believe that some people may feel that way. It was a wire that was crossed, but I believe for a large portion of our youth right now, this isn't something that they were born that way, or they feel like they're a different gender. This is a world that is got a shit ton of problems in it, and then young children not knowing who they are or where to turn, and then all of a sudden someone comes along and say, hey, you may feel like you don't fit in because it's not because you don't like the same things that other people do, or you're a nerd or whatever you want to classify it as. It's because you're the wrong gender. And then as soon as
or
they,
you might be a cat.
yeah, or you're a fucking cat. Yeah, or that could be it too. That is mental illness. And what is going on right now in our country is they're celebrating this mental illness. They are saying, yay, you figured it out. You get a gold star. And not only do you get a gold effing star, but you get to swing your dick in the middle of the street with a bunch of children around at something we call a parade. And we're just going to clap you on the back and say, congratulations, you fucking made it. And that is a serious problem.
Well, the other thing that's behind it is how much money is being made off of it. I said from the beginning with that Dylan Mulvaney, who was, with the Bud Light commercials and such. I'm like, this is what, in my opinion, they did to him. Really. They picked somebody up and said, you know what? We're going to celebrate you. Get on the stage here, and we're going to give you all kinds of coverage, and everybody's going to love you, and that sort of thing. And I said it as soon as I saw him. I said, just wait, watch what's going to happen. They're going to promise him money. They're going to promise him fame and acceptance and love, and they're going to get him all pumped up in the ego realm. And as soon as they've made their money, or in this case, when people decided we're not putting up with this crap, all of a sudden, where did he go? I'd like to know, because
I'll tell you.
I tell you what, I'm concerned that all these people are going to end up committing suicide once they're used for money and thrown off to the side. I don't really care what the decisions people make in their own life. They are put there and they have to walk their walk. God can walk them through it. It's probably a really good idea to turn to him and say, I'm a little confused right now. What's going on and what's going on, and ask God. He'll tell you, right? But what happened to him was tragic.
Well, Dylan
Mhm.
Mulvaney started out as a TikToker. He was on there and you notice I say he, right? He was on there and with a guy by the name of Jeffrey Marsh. And that guy was the one that wanted to teach children how to love. So he came up on TikTok, and then for the Biden, I can't say directly Biden, but they did have him at the White House. But they did exactly what you said, Donna. They said, we're going to give you some money. We're going to celebrate you. We're going to tell you you're the greatest in the world. People will love you. That is typical CIA mindfuckery, okay? That's typical. And then what's going to happen to Dylan Mulvaney when we realize and we go back? Because essentially, and I'm not going to do the whole alphabet. There are people out here that love the same sex. That's not my business. You can love whoever you want. You can marry whoever you want. You should be able to get insurance with your partner or whoever you're married to. We have overcome those steps in the human rights realm. We don't need all of this other stuff. So what's going to happen to Dylan Mulvaney is, once the world gets down with the fact that this was programming for our children, cutting their genitals off prior to the age of 18 is just really drastic. Dylan Mulvaney won't get the love, and he will not be put on the pedestal that the media used him to be a proverbial martyr, to fall on the sword for all the people that needed these rights to become transgender, because, I'm a man that wants to be a woman and take over real woman spaces. He will fall. There is a large amount of young suicide right now, because I don't know the correlation, but I'm sure there is one. But that's what's going to happen to Dylan Mulvaney when no one is celebrating him anymore. When no one is celebrating these children deciding to be something else, they will go through a detransitioning period. And I don't say that as going back to the gender that they were. I say that as their ego being detransitioned, that what you thought needed to be put in the public stage about your business is not it. And then we will have another increase in young suicide. But they'll be young adults by then. Hopefully they don't have any, family members depending on them when what's going to happen to them happens, because you can't build people up on a false pretense like that and then just rip the rug out from underneath them. You're creating legit more mental illness. But I really think that's their plan. I think that's their plan. They want our men to be so demasculized. They want it's a stepping down process right now with our men. Some men are misogynistic and narcissistic, but there's a thing that goes around now that says, if I apologize for being a man, oh, okay. So what's going to happen when the traditional men roles are not filled anymore, like contributing to having babies? It's all a plan to it's just tearing down the United States so that they can come in and do what they want with the United States. It's with the LGBTQ, it's with the men, it's everywhere. And it's not one problem, it's many. And I'm rambling now, so you know what I'm saying.
Christina, I agree with you almost 100%. This is a teaching, okay? So it's what we teach our kids and groom them to be. So I cannot turn my head when something that God says in the Bible you are not supposed to do. Not only that, but he specifically says to take a wife, have a child, teach them the way, that I want things to be taught and done, these things to carry on. He didn't ask for you to have a kid that's gay and to go stray somewhere and if whatever happens, and look the other way, your brother, look the other way at your brother. Don't just let him do what he wants. That's why we're at where we're at right now, because the evil teachings of these people in power have overcome, and the I would say the disciplines that we Americans used to have, where we ate at the same dinner table, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so to speak. We said the Pledge of Allegiance in the schools. We groomed our children to love America, to love God. We had prayer in the schools, Pledge of Allegiance in the schools. We had civics in the schools where kids knew how government worked. However, the government left out certain things, about World War II and about Jews. No, and about other things.
You're so bad. You're so bad, Chris.
I'm not right. I'm not right. So I'll take that to God later. So
I'll be right back. I gotta put my gas.
Really done a disservice to the generations of this country. We are responsible for our children being the way that they are, and even though we were swayed and sort of hustled and all of that, somewhere along the line we fell. We didn't stand up when we should have. We sat down, and and I could tell you accounts when I was a fireman and an EMTA where I saw things that occurred where I wanted to, say something. I said something with my eyes, but it wasn't quite enough. I mean, I can't go in and change a family. I can't be the father where a father was needed. But there are so many things that we have allowed the government to dictate to us. We allowed them to be the boss, and we basically handed them the power of our homes, our children, and they said thank you. We'll create CHP, Child Protective Services. We'll open up foster homes. Boy, did that come up as quick as the agency did. Um, there is so much crime. There is so much stuff out there that is in your own local community with your own local politicians. The focus should not be on just the federal government. That's probably what woke us up. But we should directly go to our states. Our states are participating in the things that the government is now. It started at the states. It didn't start at the top. It started at the bottom. And it started with our children. It started in our schools. We should have taken back our schools a long time ago. And I'm just as guilty because I'm like everybody else. I saw it come in a real slow roll, and I'm thinking, well, that can't last. That's probably a phase or something. That can't last. And then something else over here comes in this way and attacks something different, and then something over here comes in and takes the kids on which they attacked earlier. It's like a mass attack from all angles, and I'm so glad that God and Jesus is in on this, because he's going to fix this, and he's getting the right people in line and order and stuff like that. It's going to be good. It's going to be grand. A lot of bad things have happened, yes, but it's going to be good.
Well, I think the point being is that in our individual capacity, we all know people that are around us that are just terribly hurting, no matter who they are and how we got here. We got here how we got here, and even looking back and finding out how we got here, I find is very valuable. But laying the blame on some of it's such a big problem, is irrelevant. And we're going to need to go forward and look at each other and say, hey, look, this country's messed up. And I don't agree. I don't agree with anybody 100%. And most of the time I don't agree with anybody, a lot of the time. But the thing of it is that we've got to, when we see somebody who is hurting, and there's a lot of people who are hurting, that's the first step to turning this nation around. You know, looking for people that are hurting or that are having a problem. The ones that are doing hardcore crime, they've got to be called to justice. But there's, in our everyday life, we've got people that are just hurting and families that are hurting. I mean, look at the families that have been affected by fentanyl, the families that have been affected by the break in the family where there's actually no relationship between the parents or the kids for whatever reason it may be. There's so many things that we can look at that, you know, I kind of fundamentally against peeling out subgroups of people for whatever they align as, because people are more dimensional than that. And, you know, there's a lot more to human being than one issue, and to reach out to people. And I think we can help heal them where they are.
Amen to that. I agree with you.
But, well, there you go. Once in a while you strike gold, right?
Yeah.
I really do think it's important, though, to, you know, honestly, to be able to talk with each other on all of these subjects. You know, I had a this is kind of a funny discussion. I have a very, very good friend who happens to be gay, and I just looked at him one day and I'm like, I don't give a crap who you choose to sleep with. And he's like, he got so mad that, and I didn't understand. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's not a choice who I sleep with. He goes, I'm gay. I've always known I was gay. And I'm like, okay, that's not what I meant. And this went on. This was a 3-day discussion before I got him to listen to me. And I said, just because you have a point that has been canonized doesn't mean that I don't also have a point. And you may not even be listening to what I'm saying to defend the past hurts you have. I said, this is and we're good enough friends for me to be able to tell him, this is crazy. And I'm like, I'm not backing down from my position just because you think you're going to play the gay card on me. And I said, and I actually said that. I said, we love each other. And I said, okay. So I said, let's have a real discussion. And I said, I would say that to literally anyone or everyone I know. I don't care who you sleep with, whether you're gay or straight. It is not my business who you choose to sleep with. And I said, I'm going to stick with that. The government should not be in marriage at all. It should be there potentially just as a record keeper at best. That's it. And that's pretty much where they shouldn't be issuing marriage license. They shouldn't be involved in it. They shouldn't be involved in any of this nonsense. And when I said that, my friend was like, it took 3 days to break through the programming of me saying, you can choose, I don't care who you choose to sleep with. He goes, do you know how many gay people would absolutely be furious with that statement? And I'm like, no. And why? I'm like, I don't understand why they would be upset, because it's not a choice. And I'm like, okay, let's go back to whoever you choose to sleep with, a normal person.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
A person who is not gay would have that discussion. And I'm not going to say that they're not normal. Okay. I'm not even going to go there. That's a dumb discussion. And I don't want to be involved in it. And whether you're gay or straight, a person who is not being influenced by programming would look at that and say, this is just a way I would say it to anybody, whether you're gay or straight. If finally he got it after 3 days and he goes, oh my God, he goes, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life. It just doesn't matter to you and you don't see me as different. And I'm like, that's the point. You're a human being. I would say that to you, Christina. I'd be like, I don't care who you sleep with. It's your choice. Make a choice.
I don't care who you sleep with, Donna, either. I accept people for who they are here's one.
Exactly.
This is how I accept people. For the content of their character, not who they choose to have in their bed. I do, I have my own feelings, like everybody else, about this topic as well as many other topics.
And you have
like
the right to make that choice.
Right, exactly. But never in my life am I going to be worried about you who you have in your bed or what you choose to do with your body, because I am a mind my own effing business type of person. And I'm going to love you just the same. I'm going to love you because you are a human being. And as long as you do, are a good person, then me and you, we're square. I'm not going to judge you.
Locked up a little bit. See if she comes
I'm not
back.
around you because you had an abortion. What'd you say?
You locked up there for a minute, and then all of a sudden it went into catching up. But I guess the point being is that in these discussions, where everybody has gotten into the point of having to police everybody else's lives and be this, this purity, on this purity or piety pedestal. And it's like none of us can claim that. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. We all have things that we have to work on. And in God's eyes, we all have things to work on. And so to peel people out into subgroups, to me, I find is fairly despicable. And also when people peel me off into subgroups, it bothers me. Like just to make a comment like that and have somebody go absolutely berserk, I'm like going, I don't know what I said that was so offensive, other than saying, you be you, and I'll love you regardless. That was the point of it. That was a 3-day discussion we had. And
but I'm sure whoever it was, that they were better for it, because
even though
he said, 3 days.
You know what he said after the fact, and he said many times, he said you're truly the only person I've ever known in my entire life who truly has the ability to love people as they are. And I'm like, yeah, I do. If I've got an issue with somebody, it's like if somebody makes a mistake and they really want to turn around and get their lives right, even if they've done something horrible, I'm not going to hold it against them. It's like
what my problem was, Donna? My problem my entire life was I felt bad, and I've told you this before, for even the bad people. Like when I would watch like the first 48, I would feel so bad for the people that murdered that person, because they were going to jail for the rest of their lives, and they, weren't going to be able to have kids. And then I finally got around to realizing that I love everybody, I do, and I'll never turn away anyone as long as they, are being a decent person at the time, especially since the things that I have done in my life. But I had to come to some understanding that not all people are good people, and that even though I choose to love everyone, if I choose to love the people that are wrong, then they will use and abuse me. And I learned, and I stopped feeling sorry for the people that have done horrible things, that choose not to change their life. And that's the key word: choose not to change. You can do horrible things and then realize you've made a mistake and be accountable and own up for that. But if you don't own up to that, and you don't have some real, deep, meaningful come to Jesus moments, then I have to walk away. I can no longer love those people that cannot love themselves. And it's made my life so much better because of it.
Well, it comes down to the fact that that's a human response to feel bad for people that have done the wrong things or that have been a victim of the wrong things, and that's a really, really healthy way. That's a really, really healthy way to deal with it. However, that doesn't mean that we don't disable them from doing it again. It's like right. Somebody goes out as a rapist. We can't say that. People say, "Oh, but if they say they're sorry, you got to forgive them." It's like, no, I don't. It's like I can forgive them for what they did, but that doesn't mean we don't hold them accountable. There's a difference there. You have to hold people accountable that do things like that, and because it's likely they're gonna go out and do it again. And just because somebody says something, just like looking into Mike Rogers and Pam Bondi a little bit, just because they have all the right words, or even J.D. Vance at this point in time, I have a lot of questions. And I'm not the kind of person that's just going to go, oh, yeah, they're saying everything I want them to say. And it just makes me feel so happy because we've got a good person that's going to fight for us. Let's check out. Let's go have fun today. We don't even have to watch. They've got this. Bullshit they do. Our duty does not end. It continues. and an adult will sit here and make sure that they follow through on the things that they say and make sure they're held accountable. I'm not here to be their damn fan club. I'm here to make sure they do their job. And that accountability is what's been lacking. I don't want to be in somebody's, idiot fan club. I want to make sure we set the nation back on its feet. These fan clubs, this cult of personality bullshit's got to stop. It's got to stop because people's brains check out. They check out. They go into Stupidville. If there was a land that they go into when somebody shows up that they think is going to solve all their problems, oh my God, it's magical. We're living in this magical, wonderful world. They're going to fix everything. I don't have to do anything. I can sit here and eat my bonbons and sit on my little purity pedestal. No, that's not how it freaking works. This is that is Stupidville. Anybody that acts that way is a resident of Stupidville right there. And I said it and I'm not sorry.
Listen. So I've noticed this on TikTok here lately. Now that we have voted in Donald Trump, the people are not fighting like they were to get Donald Trump in. It's almost like what you just said. Oh, we've done this. Our job is over.
Yeah, we crossed the finish line. We're checking out. Let's go eat a piece of chocolate cake.
I'm like, this is the beginning. What are you talking about?
What?
This is the beginning. What are you talking about? I'm explaining that to so many people. Like, just because we got Donald Trump into office, now we have to do all the things that we said we were going to do for the last 4 years. Like, what do you mean? This is the beginning. Stand up. You're not done. You're nowhere near done. You're not going to be done until this country is better. And that ain't going to be within 4 years. So if this ain't a fight you're willing to be in, you shouldn't have never got into it in the first place. So shut your mouth and sit the fuck down. That's what I've been telling everybody.
I love that. That is well said. I feel the same way. It's like we're in this mess got created over decades and decades and decades. Probably hundreds of years that this has been going on. You think we're going to back out of this in 4 years or 8 years? No, this is not an 8 year. This is not an 8 year cycle. This is we're going to be in this for a long time because we've had so many people that have been hurt, the lives destroyed, families destroyed. There's no just saying, yay, we crossed the finish line. Thank God the good people just showed up to dig us out of this. I'm not so sure. And I'm still going to go back to that. I'm not so sure that President Trump isn't absolutely showing us who we need to look into so we can actually be those people that hold them accountable. We can't do that if we're just celebrating the finish line. Going over, we got to cross the finish line. Let's go have a beer and toast our success and then go back to whatever we did in the first place, which got us into this position in the first place.
What I'm afraid of is that he is just a marketing person. That's my biggest fear, actually, is that he is a face and a personality, and that the people that he's bringing in are not going to be the people we think they are. And so, it's going to be really interesting what happens in the next 4 years. But I do feel dread.
When he won that night, when he won, the next day I got up and I'm going to tell you, I had a horrible feeling of dread that came over me. And the reason being was because the American people are likely just to sit home or just follow somebody else that what happens if he dies? What happens? General Flynn made a post the other day and he was talking about what happens now. What do you think that they're going to let us get to January 20?
Yeah, that's a very scary.
I don't know.
That's a scary thought.
And then what happens after that? What happens when he's in office and you've got Vance sitting there? I don't know. The connections there between Vance and Deep State are a little concerning, he's got all the right words. I'll tell you that he's got all the right words to tickle the ears of every patriot out there. This is what he believes in. This is that. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's look at some of the connections there. Let's look at the connections between the gentleman you brought up earlier. Let's look into those. What's that?
Howard Lutnick.
Howard Lutnick. Let's look into these connections. Let's look into these people that are being placed in positions of power. And you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be horrifying to a lot of people. I literally am praying to God that he brings this whole system down. And it's probably going to need to come down in an economic way, because it's not going to hurt us. It's going to destroy them. Their entire existence is built on this fiat currency, this false money, and controlling and owning all of the trade routes.
Well, what I'm most worried about is the commodities market, because they are controlling our country, controlling our economy, but virtually no ordinary people know about how that whole system works and what they're doing. The last article I wrote is called The Inverse Reality. And the simple idea of it is that our economy was built on the basis of building. You know, you raise money, you build something. Well, with the whole climate change, the idea was inverted, an inverted reality. You make money by destroying things. And that's what they did to our country. And I just recently made a connection, and I haven't researched this further, but between the 2008 economic meltdown, I think that was connected to the climate change agenda and the destruction of our economy. You know, because if you set it up so that people make money by destroying things, they're going to destroy things. And what they're destroying is our country.
Well, and I mean, they've got us all tied up into these social issues all over the place, that we're missing what's happening behind the scenes that's actually cutting our throats. It's like when I'm looking at all of these Trump picks, the first thing that jumped off the page to me as I was looking at this is check out their Second Amendment stance. Check it out. Because if they can disarm the United States of America, we are done.
Yeah.
And they know.
I don't think the American people will ever allow their guns to be taken from them.
But look at the people that are being put in place. The ones that are adamantly opposed to the Second Amendment. Oh, no, I didn't really mean it. I didn't really mean it. You know, really? Then sign your name on the damn dotted line. Hold them accountable. I want to know what these people are willing to sign for, that they're willing to lose if they fail. It's like,
actually, I was very, very surprised that Australians gave up their guns. That was a shock to me.
I think Americans, if they had enough pressure, look at what happened with COVID. You know, how many people say that they have firearms, and how many are actually willing or able to use it?
Mm-hmm. Well,
you know, I'm just going to say it. Get yourself into a range and get yourself ready to actually be trained enough. You know, it's just like I had a guy on last Friday. The cop shot his son 5 times in the back for drug use. He had a gun on him, but it wasn't pointed at the cops. And as he was walking away, the cops shot him in the back 5 times.
Wow.
Now you tell me they're trained. No, they're a bunch of little gun-toting straw hat bureaucrats is all they are. You know, wield a gun makes you strong, makes you a real man. That kind of a person, instead of somebody who actually has the ability to go into a bad situation and make it right. That's not just because you show up with a firepower. That means that you're just, you can show up with a firepower, but do you know how to use it and how not to use it? Can you step in and use your words first? Can you, there's other ways. I mean, that was absolutely, and now the AG and everybody's trying to hide that shit. And it's like, this is not okay. But I'm looking at what they're doing here because I don't take anything at face value, just like you don't. It's like, why would, and it's like, I missed it until this past weekend. And then all of a sudden I started seeing a pattern. And what's the pattern? Watch for this pattern of the Second Amendment right and whether they're willing to stand for it or not. Watch the pattern.
Yeah, I do watch that issue.
Well, I'm not just saying it to you. I know you watch everything, but everybody out there, I'm kind of talking as a group here. We actually have quite a few people online watching right now in all of our different areas, which is kind of fun. I don't watch one area. I watch them all. And collectively, it's kind of fun. There's a lot of people out there. Hi, guys. Love you. So, yeah, it's just really, really a crazy time to be alive for sure. Well, I got to get moving here. But thanks for being on today and sharing everything. I just love you to pieces. You're just an amazing woman. I'm so proud of you. And I'm so proud of all the work you did. And, as a sister, I just think you're just amazing.
Well, thank you very much. And I appreciate what you do too. And letting me talk about my research.
Well, and I think it's important to give enough time to it, or else people won't understand how connected everything is, because it's very connected. Very connected.
I've written thousands of words about how connected it is.
All these good people out there that are doing the right thing. They're all such nice people. Yeah,
point them out to me. I'd like to see one.
Yeah, right. I'm in the same group right now. Just they look good. It's sort of like, they look good for about 5 minutes. And then you start digging into it and you go, yeah, they're all connected. They're all freaking connected. They don't get a seat at the table unless they've paid the price. And that's the way it is. And once they pay the price, they've got a dual economy that they step into. Anything is possible there because the money is just unfathomable. And what they're doing, we don't even see that part of what's going on. Most people never even have a grasp on how deep it goes because we're still believing that everything's going to be, fantastic. And these people are good and they've got all these great ideas and I get to just stay home and cheerlead them. No, that's not how it works. That's a child mentality. Yeah. So, well, I'm getting a lot of go Donna go. They like my my special brand of orneriness. It's pretty much not going to change. That was one of the things when we were looking at, I'm really seriously looking at expanding BNN because I'm not seeing any source out there that actually is truly bringing the truth forward and is not afraid to question everything. I want to question everything. I want to know why President Trump's doing what he's doing. I'm not just like, I've been an unapologetic Trump supporter because I like his economic policies. I like a lot of the things that he's done. But that doesn't mean that there's not, at some point in time, somebody that's going to show up with threat, coercion, and a gun to his head, or anybody else's for that matter.
Yeah.
That's just the way
what? I've become kind of like the dog that has been hit and, slapped around. They when that happens to a dog, eventually they just start ducking, even though if they go to a new home and the new home is nice to them, they never get over that abusive experience. Well, that's kind of how I am with our government. I just have done so much research. I know how much we've been lied to.
I don't believe in anything that comes out of any of their mouths at this point in time. We'll see.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where I am. I've got to, see what they did, and then I might listen to them. But I'm always listening, logic checking, and comparing it with what I know has gone before.
I like looking into game theory. You know, when you look at strategy and game theory, what's the ultimate goal? And can you come back to a couple of truths that never move? That's what I do. I'll look at things and I'll revisit them to make sure that they prove out. But there are underlying things that will prove out. And so in game theory, you have to look at it. It's like, what are things that you're pretty sure are truth, and then you get rid of the things that are ancillary to that. And you can come back to those center truths. Okay. The center truth is that God is in control, no matter what we see or hear. And that we can come back to the fact that God will never leave us nor forsake us. And I believe that. Absolutely believe in him. I have complete and utter unwavering faith in the fact that God is good all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I approach life from that perspective, that we could walk right through the middle of great evil and not have to be afraid. 1,000 can fall at our left side and 10,000 on our right hand, right? But we can walk right through it, just like Daniel did in the lion's den. And there's been so many instances personally in my life that I shouldn't be here. Okay. There's reasons why I'm here. I'm sure. I don't know why he's got me here. Maybe because I'm too ornery to shut up when I see things that are wrong. But he's proved himself out to me over and over again in my own life. And I know he's good all the time. That doesn't mean that, like me being diagnosed with cancer, years ago. Was it a bad thing? You know what? I had enough faith even at that time. I never cried a tear. I was not sad for one day. And I'm like, okay, well, Papa, what are we going to do with this? This could be really interesting. What do you want me to do with this hand that you're dealt, that I was dealt? And immediately I started researching, experimenting on my own body, doing anything that I could do to see what I was going to do with this, what people would normally consider shit show, right? And I looked at it as a gift, because I know God is good all the time. Now, our nation is a gift. We've been given this gift, but that doesn't mean that we sit there playing like a bunch of little kids peeing in a pool and ignoring the things that need to be dealt with. The only reason on this earth that anything stays good is because we continue, and we never, until Satan is utterly destroyed, and that day's coming. There's going to be a day where evil is going to be destroyed, and anyone who falls in with evil will probably be destroyed with him. Mm-hmm. And that's why we say to everyone, check your life, turn around, go to God, because there's going to be an ultimate judgment day for what we do. And that's been promised. We know it's coming. It's not going to last forever. And you never know if this is your last chance today or tomorrow. So you need to turn your life around and get on the right side of what needs to be done. Everyone knows what's the difference between good and evil, except maybe psychopaths that were born that way, right? Right. And that's a whole nother issue that we can go into a long theological discussion on right there, or moral discussion on, for that matter, but at any rate, I mean, we can go right to the verse that says that he was the creator of the weapon that was forged for destruction. And that opens up a whole nother, can of worms. And we can go there if everybody wants to go there. I don't give a crap, because I'll talk about anything and talk to anyone. I really don't care. Everybody has an opinion and we can learn from everyone. But I guess the point being is, even seeing through the lens of all of this evil that's gone on, this economic capture, this asset capture, this capture of our politicians, the capture of our money system, the capture, pretty much everything going to hell, right? All the way around, the families going to hell, the murdering of babies, the murdering of children, the child trafficking, and on and on and on and on. Can you imagine, with our limited eyes, what we're seeing that disturbs us? And with full view and knowledge of what God can see, which is pretty much everything. It's absolutely everything. How much he's seen, what he's got a view of, I can't even imagine. I would never want his job in a million years. I would never want God's job. I wouldn't want to be God. I wouldn't want to go through what he's gone through. And also his unfailing love for us is just incredible. And he should have just torched us all a long time ago, but he hasn't, because he is good and he understands what we've gone through. And I really think that that's when Jesus came here, his only begotten son. God literally took on a body in order to live what we live. He was subject to every single thing that we're subject to through, and he was the only one that lived a perfect life. And it's an amazing thing. It's really an amazing thing that he would want to be born here and live in the human experience the way we, and he carried it out. He's the only one that could carry it because he had the very blood of God, running through his veins. We're not quite so lucky, we live in a fallen world, but he understands, which is a beautiful thing. And that's why he can forgive us and make ways for us and take things over. So going back to it, everything that we see out there, I believe and have unwavering. I mean, look at all through time. Everybody in the Bible, they're a mess. There wasn't anybody in the Bible that did the right thing. They were a whole bunch of failures from the beginning all the way to the end of it. There wasn't anybody that got it right. They were examples of bad examples, and God walking them through their failings, and he still didn't leave them. He should have. From a human standpoint, any insane person probably would have, in our experience. But God didn't leave him. He stayed with him. And his unwavering love has been shown over and over and over again. So when I look at the time we're in right now, it's like, Papa, what do you want us to know about this? And run right into the fire, figure it out, and figure how to back out of this in the way that he wants us to do. We shouldn't be afraid of it or even depressed about it. It's just another challenge. And I don't think that's going to come to an end until Satan is completely destroyed. I think it's going to happen. I really do. I know it will. But I think we're part of the answer right now on how this is going to go in our lifetime. I think he'll give us the ability. He'll save this time, even if one person has enough faith and does the right thing. But I think that we all need to step up right now, and God forbid that people don't, because there is going to be an ultimate judgment for bad behavior. And I don't think it's time out for a short period of time.
Time out forever.
Yeah, time out. You've disqualified yourself. If you can't approach life looking at other people and laying yourself down, laying your life down and putting other people first, even what you think is good, even if it's a piety pedestal, or a purity pedestal or whatever it is, we have to purify ourselves. It's not what I'm saying, but to sit there and say, with the attitude, this is what I see with a lot of Christians out there. I'm better than you. And I can't wait for them to get their just desserts. I watch that all the time. And I'm like, are you out of your flipping mind? You're going to face God and he's going to look at you and say, yeah, you should have gone with him. And you maybe will. We don't, with that kind of an attitude, I think it's looking at other people and saying, you know what, you screwed up, I've screwed up. Let's try to work this thing together. You need some help, lean on me, and we'll get this thing figured out. And as we go forward and try to figure out what we need to do to grow, to grow closer to God and to have that relationship, he's the only answer. He's the only one that's going to get us out of this mess. And by us, he gives us the ability to work with him and help him. He doesn't need our help. That's just it. He's doing it for us to learn those traits, those invisible traits of God. And you don't learn it any other way. You don't just learn it by picking up a book and reading it. You got to walk it out. And when it gets tough, that's where you separate the men from the boys right there. It's whether you can love somebody who is utterly unlovable and keep going, and walk with somebody, through horrible things, and not just saying them, not just knowing them, but actually doing it. And that's a challenge I have to anyone in the political realm right now. Get off your ass and start walking. It's time to put our time and our treasure where it needs to go. If President Trump is in trouble, which he could be, if he's making these choices that we can look at and say, I don't know about this, and go back to, okay, we voted him in. It's time to stand up and get off our ass and start backing things. And we need to be holding these people accountable. We need to be the ones that say, we'll stand with you, and we're not going to give a pass to anyone. We're willing to support good people and stand with you. And if somebody comes in to threaten or coerce you, guess what? Now they're going to have to mess with us. They're going to have to face us, the American people, because we're not just going to, carte blanche stamp the approval on it. They walk away and they do something wrong. That's where accountability has to come in. And it's us that have to stand together. And somebody screws up, it's us that have to be willing to hold them accountable. There's ways of doing it, lots of ways, but we can't do that by sitting on our little, piety perch. But that's what I have to say,
Yeah. Well, I
don't care if somebody's Christian
today.
At this point, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, I don't care. I have no quarrels with the people. I got a big bitch with the people that are in control of this world, because they use those labels. They use them to get to us. Same thing. Somebody's gay or lesbian, I could care less. I love y'all. Doesn't make any difference to me. I love you as a person. And, this is not somebody's straight. I don't care. I love you as a person. Female, male, that's great. I've never felt like a lesser person as a woman around men. There's women that do stupid crap, and there's men that do stupid crap, and I refuse to put them into a category. I understand the difference. Just nobody on the farm's confused. Horses aren't confused, chickens aren't confused, dog's not confused, no one's confused on a farm. But just so everybody knows, it's like I don't always agree with everything that's put out here on BNN, but I'm willing to listen to absolutely everybody and honestly say that that quite honestly. Oh, Andrew came on. This is great. I just saw your post, Andrew. Donna, look up the definition for constitutional right in black law for your rights are protected from all legislation. I agree. The government usurpation is what the threat is right there. It's not anything else. It's the government, and they use all this division in order to take us down. We're looking in the wrong direction. We don't need any more evidence of unlawful acts. Rather, we need folks finding evidence of the law and people's power to correct it now. We have the right to fix it if we understand the wisdom of our forefathers. I agree on that point. Our rep must obey our instructions. Article 1, Section 3, Michigan Constitution. Perfect ending right there. So, well, let's say a prayer a minute, and then we'll move on to our day. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for Vicky and Chris and Christina, and all the wonderful people who are willing to step forward and say the truth, even if we're ostracized from groups and they say that we're stupid or we don't fit or that we're this or that. And they put all these lies out and things that malign our character on opinion or hit pieces against us or gossip, or all of these things that are just wrong before you. And I ask that you would tear down every one of these ungodly acts. I just tell you right now that I'm more disturbed about the gossip and these hit pieces on people's integrity and character as I am on anything else, because they're highly manipulative. And I ask that you would bring the truth forward, no matter who says what, that the truth would shine through, and your truth always shines through, and we turn to you, and we're just so thankful. We thank you so much for giving us a map out of this mess that we've allowed to happen. And Father God, let everyone know out there that they were wonderfully created by you, and that you love everyone, and that their paths out there, I've heard lots of things out there that, that are patently lies against your character. I hear it all the time, and I'm like, that's not what God's like. That's just somebody saying something about you that is untrue as the lies that they perpetrate against your people or people here. They're just meant to distract and tear things down. And we ask that your truth would show through for everyone. And we ask that you would help us learn to serve you on this earth. It's your sandbox, your rules. We're willing to play by the rules and do what it is first, to take the plank out of our own eye before we start looking at others, because we got enough problems right there at home on our own turf. And we ask that you show us what it is you want us to change about ourselves, to truly be a servant of yours here and to be a reflection of who you are, that in this world, the body of Christ, we ask that you would help us be your servants here on this, and thankfully to be that. Thank you so much for this day. Reach out to everyone in a very tangible way, Father God, and let them know that they're loved and that you care about them right where they are and all of their problems, and that you can walk them through anything, no matter what comes their way. I love you. We trust you. We are in awe of your majesty and everything you've done. And we're thankful that you're willing to call us your children and be the father of God or be the children of God Almighty. What a great, cool thing that is. And we're thankful for that so much. And we love you in Jesus' name, precious name we pray. Amen. So there we go, boys and girls. I think we're just going to end it here. We've been on forever, but we're going to just end it here. So have a great day. Please go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com.
Okay, have a great day.
Who's ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And I'd like to have a discussion with President Trump, the rightful president of the United States, because they broke the freaking law. They broke the law. They have used and weaponized everything against this man. As an American, we have to stand with him, whether you like him or not. Suck it up, Buttercup. They went after an American, and that fight's never going to end. So with that said, have a great day today. God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. If you don't have a good example, be one. I'm going to be on tomorrow with John Tater, and then at Sean Starry, we're going to be talking about directed energy weapons and such, because guess what? We're going to talk about everything and watch the trolls come out. It's going to be awesome. Have a great day.